Okay, good evening. My name is Carl Bell, and what I want to do for the next few minutes is share a bit of my testimony and my journey to come to Christ. I grew up in a household where my mother was a praying woman, and she prayed all the time, and I never understood who she was praying to. I just knew that when she prayed, things happened. So all through my life, I kind of had an understanding that there was a God, but it was my mum's friend, it wasn't my friend. And right through my teens and my 20s and even 30s, I got involved in all kinds of things, and I grew up in an inner city area where crime was the norm, and I got involved in all kinds of things which led me so far away from where my parents would want me to be, and so far away from probably where God would want me to be. But I got to the point in my late 30s where I guess I was the person everybody wanted to be around. I used to go clubbing every night in different cities. I had a nice car, a nice house, and money, and all the things that the world would say would make me happy. But I got to a point that where I'd done so many things, and all the things I had around me, I was still unhappy. And I started to think, there's got to be more to life than what I'm doing. And the things I'd done in the past at some point would catch up with me, but I was going to carry on until that time happened. And even when people said, I want to come out with you, Carl, I was to say, don't come out with me, or don't do what I do, because I'm only doing this because I don't know anything else. And if you do it, you might not get away with it. I remember going to see my mum on holiday in Barbados, and I'd never been to church with her. And I said, I'm going to go to church tomorrow, Mum. And so I went out clubbing as normal. I came in at 4 in the morning. Church started at 8. So I said, okay, I'll still go. And I remember getting to the church, and this was my first weird experience. I got to the front of the church, and I started to walk up the steps, and suddenly I thought, I can't do this. I just can't get into the church. And I remember going into church and almost hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I started to perspire. I was thinking all these people were clapping and singing. I was thinking, what are they doing? Why do they do this? I honestly couldn't understand why people went to church. And they pay money. I just didn't get it. I thought church was for people, women with long skirts and big hats. I just didn't know why they did it. Anyway, I was in church, and I started to feel really tense and emotional. And then all of a sudden, this calmness came over me, and I just couldn't quite get it. But moving on from there, about 3 weeks later, I came back to the UK, and I still had this thing about, I need to go to church, but I don't know why. I didn't know anyone who went to church. I remember calling my uncle and said to him, do you still go to church? And he went, yes. And I went, can I come? And he says, why? Why do you want to come? And I just said, I'd like to come. And he said, okay then. I said, I'll meet you there. And he said, no, you've got to come with me. And I said, well, why? And he said, no, you come with me. You can't go by yourself. And I thought, it can't be that bad, surely. And I remember getting to the church and sitting at the back with my uncle, and I was thinking, if this is boring, at least I'm near the door. So I sat at the back, and the woman started to preach, and I couldn't see it. I could just about see it, but she couldn't see me. And I remember she preached a message, and it talked about people being financially strong, physically strong, but spiritually weak. That was me. I had the finances, I had the physical strength, but I had no spiritual balance at all. And she said this prayer. I know now that was a sinner's prayer, but I didn't know then. And she said, if you said this prayer and you meant it, you need to come to the front of the church. And I went, no, I can't go to the front of the church. So I stood up and I looked at the door, and I thought, and I looked at her and I thought, and I looked at the door, and something said to me, Carl, you've never run from anything in your life. And in fact, when people were looking for you, you found them first. Why are you running from this? And I looked at my uncle and I said, I need to go to the front of the church, but I'm scared. Will you come with me? And we got up, and the front of the church seemed such a long way away, and I remember standing up and starting to walk, but then I started to argue with God. Remember, I'm arguing with a God now that I don't know. And I said, God, you can't be calling me, because look at all the things I've done. You know, I said, what about the hustling? What about the moving, the drugs? What about I had firearms in my house. What sort of crazy things is that? And I thought, You can't want me because I did this and I did that. And I remember a voice calling out saying to me, I know all about that, Carl. I know all about the things you've done. I know all about the things you've got planned. I know all about everything, but I still want you. I mean, you can't, but what about, and I kept saying, well, what about all, and the voice kept saying, I know about that, but if you would just come, if you would just come, I will deal with it. And I kept walking and I kept hearing the voice, if you will just come, if you will just come. And I remember by the time I got to the front of the church, it was a mess. I was crying, I could just about stand up. I was weak, I just didn't, disorientated, I didn't know where I was. But a man said to me, and he prayed for me, and he said, your life will never be the same again. And I thought, you don't even know me. How can you say that? He said, your life will change today. And I have to say, I immediately felt a peace. And the Bible talks of peace that surpasses all understanding. And I felt a peace that I'd never felt before in all my life. All the partying, all the hosting, and everything I'd done for the last 20 years that had given me financial wealth and given me a street status had never given me peace. And I felt a peace that day. And I remember leaving church and going home and thinking, what have they done to me? Because I felt different. And I remember sitting on my stairs on my house, and as a child I never cried. My mum and dad were always worried because I'd never cried. They said, their friend said, you've got to take Carl around some of the children so he can learn how to cry, because he never cries. And I got to my house and I sat on my stairs and I started to cry. And I said, God, if you're real, you've got to change me. You've got to help me with all this stuff. And my life changed that day. But I mean, there was implications of other things, past lives. But bit by bit, all the things that had held me captive just started to disappear. People that I used to run with, they just stopped calling. And things I used to have, things just broke away. And my life changed. And I can't say the journey's been easy, but it's been so much better. And I would advise anyone, if you don't know God, and no matter who you know, if you don't know Jesus Christ, get to know him. If you're like me and perhaps had a life on the streets and got involved in things you shouldn't have got involved in, and feel that these things have driven you away from Christ, or maybe he wouldn't want to know you because of what you've done, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. If he can change my life, he can change your life. If he can give me peace, the peace that surpasses anything I've ever experienced before, he can do it for you. And you know what? He's waiting to hear from you. He's waiting for you to reach out to him. He's waiting for you to say, listen, I'm a sinner. I've done things wrong. Can you help me? He's waiting for you to say, listen, I'm stuck. I'm in the belly of the whale and I'm crying out to you. He's waiting for you to say, listen, I'm stuck in a situation like I was stuck. He's waiting for you to say, help me break this cycle. Help me break this habit. Help me break these things that I don't want to do, but I keep doing, because that was me. Help me, give me a new life. Give me a new beginning. Give me a new start. Give me a second chance. Because he's a God of second chances and third chances. He's a God of more than enough. Not just enough. Most people will only like you because they don't even really know you. He chose me knowing my filth. And so said, I want you. And he wants me and he wants you.